Hello, 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 and welcome to the polling station with Johnny Ward and William Kedjanyi. And on William's prompting, we're going to talk about something a little bit different this week. We're going to talk about who's going to replace Piers Morgan. And I'm
Yep.
going to be honest. Yeah, I mean, William, this is your doing. I'm going to be honest. I did not watch the interview with the Prince and Meghan, but 54% of everyone in Ireland who was watching TV at that time did, and the exact same figure of people in the UK watched it who were watching TV at the time, 54%, which
Mm.
suggests that we're all in this together, actually. Ireland and Britain should be back under a greater United Kingdom. We should all go back in. Partition will be over. There'd be no concerns about, the land border, the sea border, and we'd all live happily ever after.
Yeah, it's amazing what unites us, isn't it? Great sports, adversity, and also
The royal
Meghan
family.
Markle. Yeah, the royal family. Who'd have known what it would have taken to bring everybody together on these great Isles of ours? Yeah, the reaction to it has been huge and worldwide. And the reason I bring it up here is because it's sparked up a couple of really interesting markets. Now, these aren't strictly political, but I think they're worth discussing because number one, I think there could be value there. Number two, there certainly is now a political line due to where people stand on this side of the debate. Generally speaking, we're seeing age splits between backing Meghan or the royal family. Interestingly, those age splits tend to correlate with Brexit, which is a interesting phenomenon. It suggests maybe there's a cultural difference too. And also we're seeing, I think, a political split in the way that people in government or in politics are responding. And it's noticeable, I think, that Labour have taken the front foot in terms of wanting more of an investigation into the conduct of the palace at that time, whilst the Conservatives are waiting to see what Buckingham Palace says in response. But anyway, the one thing really that this brings us back to is Piers Morgan's walkout yesterday in Good Morning Britain and his subsequent leaving of the show, which has sparked up quite a few markets now.
Yeah. Right, I want to get your view on this because I know he's probably a reviled figure in some ways, certainly a divisive figure, and his former colleague alluded to this morning when she spoke about his confrontational and opinionated. There were all these kind of euphemisms that were basically negative about Piers Morgan, but I'm not sure what to make of this because just looking at his comments, Meghan Markle got into like a very, very, very serious issue of mental health and suicidal thoughts and so forth. But it's also his right to not necessarily believe what she said because we're taking her word on this. And he obviously is entitled to his opinion on that. But it resulted in obviously, a bit of a brouhaha, him walking out live on air and ultimately his departure. And he has gone on and defended free speech in his, and I do admire the fact that he's not standing down. He says, I don't, he's basically saying, I still believe what I said and I'm a believer of free speech. So I'm not saying I'm a Piers Morgan fan and I wasn't watching the show. I don't watch the show, but I'm just interested actually in your opinion on this because we are in a very woke era as well, where you can't say anything that's even remotely offensive anymore.
So I don't want to distract too much from the sort of betting side of things, but quickly, firstly, he's in a position of responsibility as an anchor, I think, to treat all of the subjects that come into his purview with respect. I don't think he did that yesterday. I don't think he came remotely close, and I don't think what he said was responsible. And I think we have to remember that once Meghan opened up about her mental health comments, it became a far bigger thing, I think, than a sort of he said, she said story.
Yeah.
So I would completely agree that ITV have taken the right action. And secondly, just in sort of the day and age of the free speech thing, it's generally speaking, I think we have a really, really high level of freedom of expression in the Western world. I just don't think we really appreciate it. I think a lot of people tie in the consequences of saying things with the ability to say things. Morgan has a platform that hasn't gone away. It's just not that particular broadcast show anymore, which is fair enough given that ITV have been backing mental health campaigns an awful lot, and now the search is on for what he'll do next, and also his replacement, both of which we've got markets for, which have been quite lovely.
Excellent. Well, I'm not going to lie and tell you I know. I mean, a lot of these characters, I just don't know them because I'm not familiar with. Ben Shepherd's 9-2, Anyway 6-1, Alex Beresford 6s, Ranveer Singh 8s, Dermot Murnaghan 10s, Kay Burley 14-1. I know of Kay Burley. Jeremy Vine 16s, Kate Garway. Wow, this is one of these moments where I'm like, you know, is it the children that are wrong, like Seymour Skinner would say, or is it me that is wrong? Because I'm just completely out of touch with modern culture, it would seem, in Britain. I don't know these characters at all. Eamon Holmes, I do know. So I think I can say I know two of these people vaguely.
It's a very loaded market. We've got all sorts of suggestions from TV, from all of the different channels. Generally speaking, I think the top of the market has it about right. I think 9-2 actually is fairly generous about Ben Shepherd. He already has tipping point with ITV. He already does, I think it's Thursday and Friday on Good Morning Britain. I think the 9-2 on him was a bit big.
Right.
I think Alex Beresford is a contender. I think the people who backed him, or most people have backed him in what he said, but the people who backed him, I think, would be very happy to see him get the job. He's clearly demonstrated, along with the majority of the leading contenders, that they can fill in. The key directive here is going to be, what do ITV want from their next host? You know, are they going to want somebody who's an anecdote to Susanna Reid, who is forthright about their own opinions, who has the ability to spark debate, whether that be through crudely riling people up, which Morgan did with quite a few issues, or whether it just be by taking a stand, sort of Nagamon Chetty style, with a lot of issues. That's something that I noticed happened with her on Breakfast, and she now has her own show on 5 Live, or whether they want somebody a bit more like Susanna Reid, maybe, to change the show and change the face of it a little bit. I think Ben Shepherd could do either of those reasonably well, but I think it's a pretty open and hotly contested market. There are a lot of names who would not be the prices they were if they were to seriously go for it. I'm thinking of the likes of Charlene White, for example, who's currently 33. So don't think she's a 33 chance based on ability at all. I think if you go,
well, if you see Charlene opening up a Star Sports account and wanting 50 quid on, you know, you'd probably be like, yeah, maybe she's interested.
maybe indeed. We'll see if the smart money is coming from the likes of Charlene White. There are lots of names in showbiz there. I would say be open-minded if you're playing the market, but will
it be a man?
This is a really good question, because if it's a man, you have the male-female hosting balance.
Will there be racial kind of, interests as well at play, that they want to have a balanced look to what they have?
I think that's something every TV company and production company now thinks about much more. And I think it's probably a conversation that will be taking place already. ITV's CEO, Carolyn McCall, has really backed a number of these initiatives. So will ITV be mindful, I think, of the on-screen diversity that they have? Yeah, absolutely. In that case, you know, somebody like
Ray has to be 6-1. Maybe you're looking at like,
yeah.
I'm literally just reading up on this guy now, but he was born in Turkey, obviously has stood in on the show, stars in Citizen Khan, looks the part, 6-1.
Yeah, you could make a big case for him, and you could also make a big case for Alex Beresford. I think what will be an interesting thing to look at will be, what do the past hiring decisions at the show say? Will ITV also just want somebody from in-house who they can put into the role and sort of get the wheels running really quickly? It will be very interesting, I think, to see. And I'd say probably what's the top of the market will look about right. Don't let me put you off taking a flyer and say Charlene White at 33s or Nina Hossain at 20s. I mean, again, TV is not my exact background, but really open market, which I'd be watching. I actually think I might go for Ben Shepherd as my provisional pick. I know he's favourite, but he was Freeze, and now he's 92. And as somebody who would take the least amount of effort for ITV to get up and running, and as somebody who is light at the network and presumably popular with the audience there, I think he'd have a big chance. I'm interested in the what's next for Piers Morgan market as well. Really
yes,
that
8 to 11 that he signs a contract. GB News becomes a regular presenter on talk radio, 5 to 1. Return to Good Morning Britain as permanent host, 5 to 1. Become a regular presenter at LBC Radio, 6 to 1. Become the editor of a tabloid newspaper, 8 to 1. Appear as a contestant on I'm a Celebrity, 12 to 1. To be banned from Twitter. Were you banned or were you just suspended?
I was suspended, and I'm now back, so cancelled and uncancelled.
Serious inquiry, but he's 12 to 1 to be banned from Twitter and to compete in a celebrity fight with Alex Beresford. 16 to 1. Whoever came up with this market deserves a bit of kudos.
I believe that would be our television expert, John Brackenridge, who's an absolute whiz with these sorts of things and a really good team player.
Right. Well, is 8 to 11 value to sign a contract with GB News? This is an intriguing market, and you can obviously get fives bar. How would you play it if you had to?
I still think 8 to 11 about him signing a contract with GB News is fair. It opened up 2 to 1. So there's an argument to say the value's gone, but I would also suggest that it's the obvious place for him to go. Some people will say there's a status thing in the sense that he will never get the viewers he had at GB News. But I think that's something everybody who's going there already knows. I think also that GB News would have the money, if needs be, to get him. I think they're in that conversation. And I also think it just makes sense as a natural home for him eventually. He could take a break, do more column writing, be a culture warrior, and then sort of just go and continue his, and I use this word really lightly, work in the sense of agitating people. So I think that will be a place for him to go. I think all the specials are interesting to a point.
No price on him becoming a columnist or regular contributor for Star Sports, which is probably encouraging.
Yeah, I think we've got a great line of columnists there, and I'd much prefer to read, frankly, oddities or watch an episode of Trader Chat than listen to or read Piers Morgan on here. I know I've just said that I think the 8 to 11 for him to go to GB News is still probably value, but I might Dutch it with the idea of him becoming a regular presenter on talk radio.
Right.
Just because that's a station which is already known just to be very uncompromising for people having their own opinions and backing it up. And I should see Morgan fitting into that line there. Dan Wootton has already left. That's presumably quite a big hole in the presenting schedule for them, and also quite a bit of money on the table, even if it's in the same ecosystem. So an 8 to 11 and 5 to 1 Dutch is going to get, I think, a few people's backs up, but I would suggest I don't think he's going anywhere for the long term. I think probably he'll sign a contract with GB News. I don't think 8 to 11 is much bad value, and that'd be where I'd go with the presenter on talk radio slot second, I think.
Fair. And you did put up a tweet, obviously proving that you're no longer barred from Twitter and that your disgraceful reign off Twitter is over. You did put up a tweet last night at 7:06 p.m. Random, but I'm recording a political betting thing tomorrow. What should me and my co-host talk about? And have you any questions? And Dave responded with an image of Piers Morgan slumped on a couch whilst in some sort of a
shrine to Meghan.
Shrine to Meghan. Is that Phil from EastEnders in the background?
It is Phil from EastEnders in the background. I think that's quite possibly a Cold War Steve image, which I think, to be fair, doesn't see too far from the truth. But a couple of really interesting questions, if I could get to them quickly before we round this off. Firstly, from Drew, who asked how the ethics of political betting sit with me. There was conversation about political
influencers,
in the EU referendum. Is there a history of gamblers influencing politics solely to fix the win? So first of all, with the fixing question first, this is a conversation with every single event. Any events that you can bet on, there is the theoretical possibility that people will try to fix it. It happens all the time for a number of reasons. It doesn't sit uncomfortably with me. To be honest with you, people have tried to fix elections and they will continue to for far bigger reasons than getting and winning a good bet. And is there money to be made? Yeah, but would it really be worth it? I think is another question you have to ask yourself. The amount of money you have to spend to influence politics. I can't see people doing it for big wages theoretically. So it's in practice a legitimate concern and a good question, but I don't really think in reality it happens.
I also thought, to be fair, the betting around the American election was utterly fascinating.
Yeah.
Even if you never had a bet, the volatility of that market, the night, that fateful night in November and into the following few days was quite amazing, and it was part of the story really at that stage. Now, I can completely see where that person is coming from, but another one, you got the effects of the Trump PAC on the GOP, lack of Labour cut through under Starmer. What can they do? And cabinet reshuffle and those tips for promotion from Stuart Burchett. Plenty of questions there from him.
Yes, indeed. Okay, so the effects of the Trump PAC on the GOP, very quickly. Money is the big thing here. How much money do the Republicans lose from people who follow Trump financially, and how many of the Republican voters actually, go and they back their opinions up and they donate to Trump. He can make an absolute killing off these people. He probably already is. I think they could lose plenty. It just depends on how sustained that split is. Do these voters go to Trump and then sort of come back if the party continues to back Trumpist policies? And if not Trumpist policies, have Trumpist candidates? That's something we won't really know for a while. I think there's still plenty of Trump in the Republican Party, though. It's not going to change quickly. But I think the thing that they'll be concerned about is, where's the money go? Lack of Labour cut through under Starmer, and what can they do? They need to have their own policy outlook, and they need to have a simpler, more effective set of values that they can really attach themselves to. They need to find new turf that the Conservatives haven't already sort of manoeuvred over to. And I think economically, that's a big struggle for them. I thought the budget response was really garbled. They got their absolute legs in a twist over it. And I think there's a lot of work to be done by Starmer and Annalise Dodds, who needs more cut through herself, I think, to revert that. And then the cabinet shuffle, those tip for promotion. We will try and have cabinet markets. Only 5 of the full 23 members of the cabinet are women. That's Priti Patel, Liz Truss, Therese Coffey, Amanda Milling, and Baroness Evans. Apparently, several new faces who are women are going to come into the cabinet in a summer reshuffle. These could be Victoria Aitkins, Home Office Minister, Michelle Donnellan, Universities, Lucy Fraser, the Solicitor General, and Helen Whately, the Care Minister, full names tip for promotion. I'd imagine there'd be more. I would imagine there'd be more being discussed in number 10. And that'll be something we'll have odds on in the summer, probably after local elections.
I think that's us.
Thank you very much, Johnny. Thanks very much, everybody, for watching.
Yeah, check out the Star Sports website as well. There's loads of stuff going on the video front this week with regard to Cheltenham previews. We have obviously trader challenges and so forth. We have a 2-man wall. We have just my chat here at the polling station with William, and we also have the 2-man wall and trader chat. We've loads going on essentially as we count down to Cheltenham, and there's lots of stuff there for you to watch free. And you can also bet these Piers Morgan markets. So it's been busy. It's been busy, William.
It has indeed. starsports.bet/specials, I believe, for all of the markets on Piers Morgan, including his next or his GMB replacement, and of course what he'll do next.
We will be back next week, and if we're not talking in the meantime, do enjoy the Cheltenham Festival.